Thanks for looking in. It would have been nice to meet you in person in Neuchâtel, but hopefully we will enjoy this online version of the conference as well. This talk is based on a paper that I and Caroline Tuborg have written together. The paper isn't published yet. I apologize for my English pronunciation. I have barely been talking English since this pandemic started. The title of this talk is Moral Responsibility for Outcomes in Collective Harm Cases. These are cases where there will be a bad outcome Y if enough acts of a certain kind X are performed, but where no act of Xing makes outcome Y worse. Examples might be global warming, overfishing, consumer choices, etc. Some people argue that, in such cases, I have no Y-related reason to refrain from Xing since my act of Xing doesn't make Y worse. This is the inefficacy problem. If we take global warming, for example, someone might argue that since going for a leisure drive doesn't make global warming worse, I have no global warming-related reason to refrain from going for such a drive. If this is true, this would also mean that I cannot be blameworthy for going for a leisure drive, at least not on the grounds that it makes global warming worse. The challenge is to explain where this argument goes wrong. There are two varieties of collective harm cases: threshold cases and non-threshold cases. Threshold cases are cases where the outcome Y won't occur if only N acts of the relevant kind are performed, but where it will occur if one more such act is performed. There are several different ways in which you could explain blameworthiness in such cases. You could, for instance, appeal to an expected utility approach and argue that you have a reason not to go for a drive with your car, since doing so might make a difference for whether some global warming-related harm occurs. This approach is, however, less suitable for explaining blameworthiness in non-threshold cases, where there are no such thresholds. The problem is that no act of Xing makes a morally relevant difference. This assumption is usually backed up with the idea that only perceptible differences are morally relevant, and that one act of Xing only makes an imperceptible difference. In order to make the expected utility approach applicable to non-threshold cases, Kagan argues that all non-threshold cases are threshold cases in disguise. Against appearances, for instance, some drive with a car does make a perceptible difference in harm. Broom argues instead, first, that there are empirical grounds for thinking that global warming is a threshold case, and second, following Parfit, that also imperceptible differences might be morally relevant. In contrast, our account is applicable to non-threshold cases even if there is no sharp perceptible threshold in such cases, even if the empirical evidence would turn out to indicate that global warming is a non-threshold case, and even if imperceptible harms are not morally relevant. The reason for this is that our account allows us to take larger contrasts into consideration, rather than focusing on the difference that is made by one single drive. On the account we are proposing, roughly, you are blameworthy for X, where X might be an action or mission or outcome, just in case X is bad, and there is a time t such that your poor quality of will at t in relation to X caused X. For instance, you are blameworthy for some climate change related harm, just in case this harm is bad, and there is a time t such that your poor quality of will at t in relation to this harm caused it. Some might object that a single drive does not cause global warming. Our response is that a single drive is a cause of global warming, and this is also what an accurate account of causation will entail. On the account we are using, your poor quality of will in relation to X caused X, just in case it is process connected to X, and X is more secure in the closest to A at T world, where you have a poor quality of will. I will explain these notions more thoroughly in the full-length video. To say something short about making an event more secure, your poor quality of will makes an occurring event more secure if more things would need to change in order for this event not to occur, given that you have this quality of will. Thanks for watching.